I mean, the Pac-12 losing USC and UCLA, your two biggest brands, that was never going to be good for them.
No.
The Big 12 found a way to get out of it, in part because I think where we're going to go with this conversation, it is in ESPN's best interest while they own the SEC, okay, and they own the ACC. It is in their best interest because they have to fill their inventory.
Yeah.
They have to. They can't just replay the Tennessee-Georgia game 85 times.
Are you sure?
Yes, I am.
All right.
And that's why there is value.
More, Joe.
That's why there is value to the American Athletic Conference and the games that are shown. That's why there is value. Not the same as Power 5, but for those Tuesday night Maction games. Because, yeah, people do watch, as we've seen with all of these cockamamie bowl games that outrate and outdraw a Duke Carolina basketball game. There is value, and for ESPN, they have to protect those brands. That's what you're seeing with the Big 12. The Pac-12, on the other hand, they don't have a deal with ESPN. So the ESPN is sitting here looking at that like, well, we had a deal with you, but that's been screwed by your two biggest commodities going to our competitor. And at this point, you might as well just call them ESPN and Fox Leagues. There's no point in calling them by whatever names they are.
Did we not call that last year?
We did.
Okay.
But that's where people get confused when it comes to, well, where do you, Clemson in Florida, like Florida State, we're on Radio Row and we hear this guy talking about how he's down in Clemson, and I'm not making fun of him.
Sure.
It's talk radio. You got to fill it, man. I totally get it, man. I've been there, okay? But he's talking about how, like, Clemson can't stand for this. They got to break the grant of rights. They got to renegotiate. They have to add. And I'm sitting there going, no. The relationship, we talked about this with the UNC Mafia. John Swafford, Jim Delaney, the head of ESPN, okay? Deals get done by people. The people, and Bubba Cunningham said this to us last week, the value is in the network. The network isn't the ACC network. The network is ESPN. The deal, they have, as people, they have to go, the ACC, Jim Phillips, Bubba Cunningham, Florida State, Clemson, they have to go to the head of ESPN and say, we have value to you. It is in your best interest to keep us competitive. What is the best way for us to do that? Well, the best way for us to do that is for you to help us be financially competitive. Yes, you have us over the barrel right now, but it's still in your best interest for us and your inventory to be able to say to our recruits and to our players, we can win the national championship. You can come to Clemson and win the national championship. You can come to North Carolina and win the national championship. You have to be able to say that with a straight face.
Yeah.
You can't let Ohio State and all the Big Ten teams be like, well, we can recruit. You can't let all those SEC teams who already have a regional advantage go, well, you don't want to go to Clemson. You don't want to go to Florida State. You'll never play for the national championship. That's what's most important to them. Also, who owns the playoff as we speak? ESPN.
Couple things. This is more about the Pac-12 not sticking the dagger in the Big 12 when they had the chance.
They did
10 years ago.
They absolutely did.
They had the chance to do it. And what do we know about college football? I looked him in the eye. We have an alliance. Well, every time that happens, somebody gets stabbed in the back. So the Pac-12 thought, no, we have honor amongst these thieves, and nobody would do it to us, right? Right.
Well, they were the ones who tried to get Texas and Oklahoma.
You were about 10 years removed. It's funny you mentioned that because in all the things that were going on, our friend, former UNC Chancellor Holden Thorpe, who was in the middle of all this stuff a decade ago, had tweeted to me, imagine 10 years ago in the last round thinking that the Big 12 was better than the Pac-12. Didn't see that coming. Because, yes, you know that meme that makes the rounds, like, call the ambulance, but not for me. Well, that was the Big 12. Brett Yormark was, oh, did you think we were? No, I'm coming for you. So the Pac-12 dicked around for way too long thinking they can get their own television network off the ground and not getting with a partner like ESPN, like they could have done 10 years ago.
We're going to get Apple. We're going to get Amazon.
But it goes beyond that. Remember, they were the ones who broke the code. You know, Larry Scott was going to be the one that we've got our own. We own everything. And I was listening to a conversation on my drive back from Charlotte last night between Ethan Strauss and Bomani Jones on the House of Strauss podcast. And Bomani made a very, very astute point, as he usually does, that all these people thought they could do it on their own. And then they realized, whoa, this is way too much work, right? And you see this time and time again. I'm going to do it. I'm going to control the distribution. And you come to find out, man, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens to do our own thing, and it gets really expensive. Maybe we should just go back to making the stuff and then you buy it from me. He pointed out, I'm not in the shoe game, you are, but apparently Nike tried to go direct to consumer for the longest time. They're finding the distribution channels to be expensive, and now they're putting Nike back in stores.
This is what you told me when MLS went to Apple.
Yes.
And this is when I said to you, it's probably not the worst idea. Because you said this, and it's just like going to the store and buying sneakers. I am inclined when I'm in a store and I see the sneakers to buy them.
Mm-hmm.
But to make the effort to go to their app, to go to their website,
it's too much
and
effort.
Plus, I don't see them. I don't get to try them on.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because put a pin in that. Put a pin in that point, because I'm going to get to it as it relates to Notre Dame.
Okay.
So hold on a second, because TV, like to your point about Fox and ESPN.
That's the analogy to TV.
Totally.
When you're on TV, I don't have to go seek out the app. I'm flipping through the channels.
That's why the CW deal for the ACC is actually pretty damn
not
good.
That bad.
And then the CW,
even though it's financially not any different.
It's not, but like CW looks like they're getting serious about sports. They just signed the Xfinity series for NASCAR. So regardless, they got the Live. You can say what you want about Live, but let's talk about TV for a second and go back to something you and I talked about a year ago about a Fox League and a Disney League. Mm-hmm. It's not all that different from the NFL.
Look at you using the terminology already.
Gotta get it right. Fox League, Disney League.
And ESPN.
No, it's not. And we said this, much like the NFL, where you have CBS and Fox, and you have some other rights that go to ABC Disney for Monday Night Football, buying Super Bowls, etc. And you got the Amazon package, but ultimately it's a 2 TV league deal, okay? So this is where the Pac-12 screwed up. And rather than partnering with somebody who's going to be around for the long haul, they screwed the conference network game for everybody. Because distributors figured out, oh, wait a minute, we don't have to carry you and we survived? You mean we went 10 years without having the Pac-12 network and nobody like raised a fuss?
Gets to the composition point.
I wonder.
You can do
composition, but it has trickle effects.
But I'm saying Big Ten and SEC can say we have. That's when you get the pitchforks.
Diminishing. That's diminishing.
I don't disagree with
ESPN is
generations and all those other good things.
ESPN is also dealing with the fact they're not the 800-pound gorilla they used to be when it came to distributors. Distributors can say, look, guys, we're losing infrastructure. We're losing customers to Netflix.
Yeah, I don't want to lose the Bear. I don't want to lose Better Call Saul. I could lose Pac-12 after dark.
So this has actually affected ESPN and Disney in a way where Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney, is openly talking about getting rid of broadcast television, selling stakes in ESPN. If you found this to be a valuable property, why would you sell stakes to the NBA? And I texted with Bomani about this last night, and I said, to your point about the NBA, they're also finding it difficult with the NBA network and to control their own content. We're like, well, wait a minute. What if we actually invested in ESPN that has all the infrastructure? Major League Baseball is the same boat because of the BAMTech, and then we have a little bit of say with what's going on. So all of this is to say is that if you're following along, I know this can get really, really nerdy, but trust me on this. This stuff matters when we start talking about conference realignment and what ultimately happened with Colorado. No offense to Colorado. They are basically another mouth to feed with the Big 12. They can get to an even number of 14 if they'd like. I know UConn has been out there. San Diego State has been thrown out there. Maybe Arizona, maybe another Pac-12 team. But this says more about the Pac-12's failure to understand where things were going, and they're going to pay the consequence. Now, how does this relate to the ACC? Well, like, for instance, there was where is my guy? Where's my guy from Daniel? He had a Hey Joe question about Costco or Sam's Club in relation to a story on ESPN.
Membership.
ACC absolutely open to expanding membership. Now, look, I got a Costco by me, so I go Costco. But what membership are they trying to include? They're not adding Pac-12 teams because, again, it gets back to television. What's the distribution? You add Arizona and Arizona State. You add Oregon and Oregon State. You're going to tell me ESPN's going to go to market with that to distributors who just went a decade without the Pac-12 saying, hey, guys, give us more money. And they're going to go, screw you guys. We didn't need you in the first place. Nobody wants these teams. There's only one team left. I keep screaming this. There's only one team left that matters for conference expansion in the ACC, and that is Notre Dame, which gets to your point about streaming. We're having this conversation. Actually, I love ACC kickoff because you're just sitting around tables and you're just shooting the shit with other media people. You start spitballing things. You hear this, you hear that. And I was having a conversation with Luke Dukaka, the News and Observer. And he pointed out to me, and I completely forgot this, and I thank him for reminding me, that the next deal for Notre Dame, the rumor is, once this current deal runs out where they have games on NBC, well, NBC's looking to get out of the game. NBC's looking to stream Peacock and stream, and that the only games that might be available that are not on the app would be on cable, like the USA Network. Do you think Notre Dame wants to be on USA Network? Do you think they want to be on Peacock on the majority of it? I guess to your point about availability.
Yeah, I don't think they want to splinter their package.
No,
because they were the early mover on NBC.
Who's available for a package on one channel starting in 2027?
Could it be Disney and ESPN?
So maybe the grant of rights in a ninja swath way is that, look, and you know my philosophy on this, half the battle in winning is to outlast everybody. And if you've got a deal and a grant of rights that allows you to outlast everybody, even though you're not necessarily making the top dollar, other people start to look and go, oh, wait, I thought we could we could outlast you. So it's entirely possible that in 7 years or less, as the deal goes primarily to ESPN, that Notre Dame is looking for a proper broadcast home because they would get buried on Peacock. And what does that matter for recruits? You telling me that, oh, you want to watch my son play? I want to watch my son play. What do I got to do? I got to log into Peacock? And I got to do I get a free subscription? No? I don't know, man. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, coach. And Jack Swarbrick's no longer the AD. He's off to the college football playoff, the new expanded college football playoff role. So these are just things to consider. I don't think this is a seismic shift. I mean, I had some people pointing out to me, hey, didn't you just do a clip where you said conference realignment was dead? I said major conference realignment was dead. Colorado going to the Big 12 is not major conference realignment. It's the Pac-12 dying. This is a death rattle. That's what this is.
The Big 12, while they did not make major moves, they were protected by ESPN.
Yes.
Okay. And this shows you that ESPN is willing to protect what they believe is their valuable inventory. That is the niche, along with the expanded playoff that the ACC can sell themselves at. Okay. We don't make as much money as Ohio State. Fine. We don't make as much money as you don't make it now.
Yeah.
So what's so radically different about that?
It's not. Yeah.
But when Oklahoma and Texas show up in the ACC, in the SEC, and they go 9-3 and they don't make the playoff, meanwhile Florida State and Clemson are 11-1, 12-0, going to the playoff every year, I'll ask again, who would you rather be?